Welcome back, my dear students. So, till now, in this value of supply, we have covered all the provisions which were there, and we have seen section 15.1, 15.4, 15.1 के साथ साथ 15.2, 15.3, 15.4 के साथ साथ we have seen all the rules. Then we saw section 15.5. It said that for certain transactions, the government have notified the methods to do the valuation, correct? So we have seen all the rules which was applicable as far as the valuations were concerned. For now, this particular session will be a small session where we'll be just covering few of the clarifications, circulars which have been issued by the department as far as these particular valuations are concerned. So these clarifications are nothing but certain situations ऐसी आती हैं जहां पे the industry or the people who are involved into the industry are into two minds कि इस तरीके से ट्रीट किया जाए या इस तरीके से ट्रीट किया जाए. So for those particular kind of situations, the government gives the clarification, correct है? So that is what we will be covering in this particular small session, where we'll be covering all the circulars which have been issued, which is giving more clarity towards how a particular transaction should be valued, correct है? So let us quickly see in rule number 33. Right? In rule number 33, we had seen that in case if there's a pure agent, right? If this particular pure agent is doing any expenditure or cost, right? Then that particular pure agent, because he's not adding up his markup, will be excluded from the value of supply, correct? So on these lines, on these basis of these rules, there is one circular which has been issued, which is talking about the passenger service fees and the user development fees. Now, what happens, I'll show you with an example over here so that it becomes more clearer to you guys. So what happens is that, say this is an airport, right? You are going to an airport, you want to fly. So you go to an airport, you go to an airlines, you book Indigo, you book Go Airlines, or you book Kingfisher, you book Air India, whatever airline, right? And there is an airport where you go. This has been operated by Airport Authority of India, correct? So in the airport, what you do is basically this Airport Authority of India maintains the runway, it maintains the washrooms, it maintains the charging, it maintains the restaurant, everything. So all the facilities which you enjoy at the airport, they have been managed by Airport Authority of India, correct? So basically this Airport Authority of India is giving you certain services, and for which you are supposed to make the payment to Airport Authority of India. But in this scenario, what is happening is that because the Airport Authority of India does not directly deal with you, so it has appointed the airlines to collect the payment on these basis, that is the passenger service fees and the user development fees. Two kinds of nomenclature of payment, that is PSF, passenger service fees, and user development fees from the passengers on behalf of Airport Authority of India. Who will be collecting? The airline will be collecting, right? So this is what is the methodology on this. So basically what we're trying to understand here, he is basically acting as a pure agent for the Airport Authority of India, on whose behalf it is collecting the payment from its customer, correct? So on this way, in this, keeping this scenario in mind, how do this valuation will go is what we have to understand, right? So circular is for passenger service fees and user development fees are levied by the airport authority through the airlines. So this levy is by the airport authority, and this levy is through the airlines which are operating on this airport authority's airport, correct? Acting as a pure agent, right? So these airlines are acting as a pure agent. Now PSF, that is passenger service fees, and user development fees are a consideration for services provided by the airport authority, right? So these are the services which this airport authority provided. Which services? Runway maintenance, washroom maintenance, charging, AC, all those kind of services are provided by this Airport Authority of India, and for which it is charging the service charges to this particular passengers who are using it, and on this there is a levy of GST, correct? So now the question what is there and what is the answer is what we'll be reading, correct? So let us quickly see that. So airlines here are acting as a pure agent, should separately indicate PSF and UDF and the applicable GST in the invoice. So when you buy an airline ticket, you will see basic fare, then you will see the petroleum charges, fuel charges, then you will see PSF and UDF. Separately it has to be declared into the invoice where the airlines are acting as a pure agent, and they should also mention in the invoice that on this PSF and on this UDF what is the rate of GST, so that once this rate of GST is known to the passenger, that passenger can avail the ITC of GST paid on PSF and UDF. Correct? So this is what the modus operandi should be. So whenever the airlines is raising an invoice along with the charges, basic fare, petroleum, or the fuel charges, surcharges, XYZ, they should also mention PSF and UDF, and also mention what is the rate of tax GST applicable, right? So this can be inclusive or exclusive. So if somebody is collecting inclusive, so reverse calculation, or it can be exclusive, that's an extra GST can be charged, correct? So the amount collected by the airlines as PSF and UDF are generally inclusive in nature, right? So whatever they are charging, suppose they are charging 250 rupees as PSF, 250 as UDF, correct? So these 500 rupees is inclusive of GST. So assuming that GST rate is 18%, you divide by 118 into 100, that is the value of supply here, correct? Very simple, very logical. So for this, there's a whole lot of explanation which has been given into your textbook. Please go through it so you'll understand that, right? So for this collection, now this airline who is collecting on behalf of the Airport Authority of India, will they do it for free? No, correct? So for this collection service, airline will issue an invoice to the Airport Authority along with the GST, right? So इसके लिए जो service provide कर रहा है airlines, for this the airline will issue an invoice to the Airport Authority with the GST. Then the Airport Authority will make the payment to the airlines, and the airlines will collect the payment along with GST and make the payment of GST to the department. So this is what is there as far as the PSF and UDF are concerned. That PSF and UDF are basically the services provided by the Airport Authority of India to the passengers, but the airlines is acting as the pure agent who is collecting the money from the passengers on behalf of the Airport Authority of India. And for this, these airlines are also charging certain fees. On that, basically GST would be applicable. Clear? This is one of the clarificatory circular which has been issued, right? So next circular we will see, one more circular is a circular on discounts, correct? So we have a circular which is basically talking about different kinds of discounts and how those discounts should be treated as far as GST is concerned out. So now a lot of time when you go to the FMCG stores, you see ki buy one get 10% discount, buy two get 20% discount, buy 3 get 30% discount, right? So these discounts are staggered manner, step by step manner, right? So generally this is shown in the invoice. So आपको वो पहले से ही पता होता है. So basically it is shown beforehand only, and therefore it is shown in the invoice only what is the discount percentage you got. If you're buying 3, you'll be getting 30%. If you're buying 2, you'll be getting 20%. If you're buying 1, you'll be getting 10%, correct? So these are generally shown in the invoice, and it is to be excluded from the value of supply. Clear? This is what is there as far as this is concerned. Now, second, we were talking about the discounts, right? So periodic 15.3, right? So under periodic or year-end discount or volume discount, so what is the important what were the important conditions we had seen? There are basically 3 conditions which we have to see. What were those 3 conditions? Let us quickly let me just quickly take you through here. So what are the 3 conditions? The 3 conditions were, there should be prior agreement, discount should be specifically linked to the invoices, and the person who is basically the recipient should be reversing the corresponding ITC mentioned on the credit note, right? So if these 3 conditions are satisfied, then only this particular discounts can be excluded from the value of supply, correct? Now, in this scenario, periodic or year-end discount, volume discount, what is the situation? Generally, it is not shown on the invoice, right? वो जिस time पे invoice होगा उस time पे तो बनेगा नहीं. Separate credit note is issued for the same. So since given at a year-end, right, such discounts are excluded from the value of supply subject to fulfillment of condition under section 15.3b. We have already seen 3 conditions अगर fulfill होगा तो ही उसको एक्सक्लूड करेंगे, अदरवाइज उसको एक्सक्लूड नहीं करेंगे, करेक्ट? देन सेकेंडरी डिस्काउंट नॉट नोन एट द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. देयर आर सर्टेन डिस्काउंट्स व्हिच आर नॉट नोन एट द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. सपोज आई हैव सप्लाइड सम गुड्स इन द मंथ ऑफ मार्च, then suddenly this pandemic came. I announced an offer that if somebody makes a payment to me instantly or within 1 month, I'll be giving an additional discount. So these are the discounts which are not known at the time of supply. These are secondary over an additional discount. So what will be the treatment of those discounts? In this scenario, it is a commercial call which I am taking. It is not the transaction call. It is a commercial call which I am taking, because I know if I do not give the discount, I will get the payment late and I might even suffer a lot of bad debts, right? So it's a commercial decision which I am taking. So in this scenario, commercial credit note can be issued, and can be issued since condition 15(3)(b) are not satisfied. Now these क्रेडिट नोट जो 15(3)(b) में दूंगा उसके लिए तो प्रायर एग्रीमेंट है, दैट्स व्हाई ओनली आई कैन इश्यू क्रेडिट नोट अंडर सेक्शन 15(3)(b), बट दिस सिचुएशन आर नॉट नोन एट टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. So I cannot issue a credit note under 15(3)(b. What I can issue a commercial credit note. So इसका जो impact है वो returns में कहीं पे भी नहीं आएगा, but it's a commercial decision which I am taking with the recipient. तो उसका जो payment का मेरे को लेन देन है उसमें मैं उसको adjust करूंगा, right? So such discount shall not be excluded from value of supply since at the time of supply 15(3)(b) conditions are not satisfied. Clear है? Very simple, very logical. So आज अगर मैं किसी को बोलता हूँ कि अगर आपने पेंडेमिक का आपको आप पेमेंट आज कर दो, so I will give you additional discount of 5% because it's a pandemic situation, right? So it was not known at time of supply. So this 5% is my commercial loss. So the government is not bothered. So this will have no reflection in the GST return also, correct? So these are additional. So this is why it will not be excluded from the value of supply. आपको जो actual invoice था उस पे आपको GST पर पे करना पड़ेगा. This commercial invoice is just the arrangement between the buyer and seller on a commercial level basis. Clear? That is the concept as far as discounts ka clarifications are concerned. Then there's one more clarification which is given on the point of basically business correspondent or business facilitator. So now what are these business correspondent and business facilitator? एक यहाँ पे बैंक है, एक यहाँ पे बिजनेस करस्पॉन्डेंट है, सॉरी बिजनेस करस्पॉन्डेंट और बिजनेस फैसिलिटेटर. दे गो एंड मीट द कस्टमर्स एंड कन्विंस द कस्टमर्स to use the services of the bank. So when they use the services of the bank can issue an invoice to this customer and for this particular services, and the customers will make the payment directly to the bank, right? So these business correspondent or business facilitators have no scope to charge the customers directly. So basically these people are working for the bank, are providing services to the bank, and hence they will raise an invoice to this particular person and banks will raise an invoice to the customers, right? So this is what the whole flow is all about, right? So this is how the whole transaction. So ये GST इस पे लगेगा और ये GST इस transaction पे लगेगा, correct? So this is what is there, right? So this is a clarification which has been issued. No doubt, these business correspondent or business facilitators are even collecting the payment on behalf of bank. But invoice कौन raise करेगा? Invoice bank ही raise करेगा. These people cannot raise the invoice, correct? That is what is the clarification. What happens is generally there are business correspondent and business facilitators in the village level. So they work on for the banks, right? So whatever collection the bank has to do, whatever payment the bank has to do, so these business correspondents and business facilitators do that work. So in case if these service charges are to be this service invoice for which the customer has to make the payments is 5,000 rupees. So if these charges also, these will be collected by this but on behalf of this particular person, correct? So on this they cannot charge GST, only the bank can charge GST whatever is applicable, correct? That is what is mentioned over here. Let us see quickly over here. So there are what is the step flow? Banks are there, then you have business correspondents or business facilitators convinces the customers to use the services of the bank, correct? So bank raises the invoice for service charges directly on the customers along with GST, right? So in case of business correspondent or business facilitator, what happens now? Cannot raise an invoice, right? So they cannot raise an invoice directly onto the customer because for them the customers are the bank and not the customers of the bank, right? So they are providing services to the bank and not to the customers, right? So basically they raise an invoice on their bank for their services to the bank as the commission for their services. So जो भी ये काम कर रहे हैं उसके लिए इनवॉइस वो बैंक को रेज करेंगे, ना ही वो कस्टमर को रेज करेंगे, करेक्ट? So that is what the whole crux is. So in case if there's a business this is there, if this business correspondent is there or a business facilitator is there. So in case of business facilitator, what is happening is that facilitator is the service provider. If business facilitator is the service provider, then in that situation, bank passes the GST on RCM basis, right? So the bank pays the GST on RCM basis. If business correspondent is the service provider, then these people collect the GST and pay under FCM, correct? So this is what is there as far as your business facilitator and business facilitator as well as the business correspondent and business correspondent and business facilitators are concerned. Sorry, correct? That is what is there as far as these particular clarifications are concerned, right? Simple है. Now valuation of works contract service. जो works contract service की जब हम बात करते हैं, it is simple है. जब हमने works contract service की बात की, that you say that it is 1/3 is basically on the land value. So जो भी amount होगा आपका, उसमें से 1/3 निकल जाएगा land का proportion and only what will be left is 2/3 which will be considered as the value of supply. Correct है? So that is what is there. So basically value of the land and building, consideration for supply of services including land, उसमें से 1/3 में लैंड का पोर्शन निकाल दूंगा एंड बैलेंस इज वैल्यू ऑफ द कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस. करेक्ट? सो बेसिकली दिस इज व्हाट इज देयर एज फार एज दिस वैल्यूएशन ऑफ वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सर्विसेज आल्सो कंसर्न, राइट? सो देयर इज वन मोर सर्कुलर व्हिच वी हैव मिस्ड इन द बिगनिंग. लेट मी जस्ट टेक यू थ्रू दैट सर्कुलर आल्सो. वन सेकेंड. 15.1 15.2, right, this circular. Under this 15.2 we have seen 15.2a which spoke about duties, taxes, cess, fees and other GST, right? Other than GST. Now suppose if there is a provision under income tax 206C which says that the TCS have to be charged, right? So what happens is that when I am raising an invoice for 1 lakh rupees, I will also charge says TCS of 10,000 rupees, correct? So what happens is that now the GST would be applicable only on 1 lakh and not on this 10,000, because this 10,000 is not any kind of duties, taxes, cess. It is just the collection mechanism by the government which will be reflected into the recipient's 26 AS, correct? So this is what is there as far as this particular TCS is concerned. Ki TCS under Income Tax Act not to be included in the value of supply. Clear? So these are the basic various circulars which are important and which are available for examination purpose. So please go through the questions and solve the questions. Then only you'll get a complete understanding and then only move to the next session. Correct? So take care. Have a great day. Bye bye. See you.